Nigel Farage because he is talking on stage at the moment at a reform conference in Birmingham. Stood next to what I think is, maybe even inside. Yes, he is. What looks like is it a tractor? It's a massive tractor. There we are. So let's whiz ourselves over to Nigel Farage now and see what he has to say.
Oh, come on, you'll embarrass me. I'm shy, you know that. Good evening, Birmingham. You might have noticed I just arrived on a JCB. Now, JCB, as we know, make the most amazing machines. They're great in agriculture, they're great in building, they're great clearing landscapes. They are probably the most incredible private company in this country, if not one of the most incredible companies in the world. And we say a huge thank you to Lord Bamford tonight for lending us a JCB. Now, what is it? It's a Pothole Pro. Yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about potholes. This machine can mend potholes at half the cost that currently is being charged by other commercial operators. And aren't potholes just the perfect symbol of broken Britain? So I thought coming in on a JCB with a machine that actually works and that county councils should use if they weren't tied in to 5- and 10-year contracts with inferior providers. But we'll fix that, won't we, when we control those county councils. So yeah, let's fix broken Britain, and let's start by making sure that reform local governments mend the potholes. Now look, this must be the most ambitious launch of any local election campaign in history, nay, probably the most ambitious launch of any even general election campaign in history. And hasn't it been incredible? Incredible. Dr. David Bull leaves me in awe. His timing, his humour, his use of these incredible props around the stage. David, you have been absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. I've never said that to him before, and I probably won't say it again, but he's been brilliant. So let's have a little think about what we've done over the last year, about where we've got to. On March 28th, 2024, Reform UK had 25,000 paid up members. Tonight, we have gone through 220,000 paid up members. We are now, without doubt, We are now, without doubt, double the size of the Conservative Party and catching the Labour Party up first. And by the end of this year, I want us in membership terms and much else to be the biggest party in this country. That's clear. And this time last year, we didn't have any formal branches. We have managed, since August, when we really kicked off, we've now managed to set up 400 branches around the United Kingdom, all over. And you see, this is very important, because I said on the evening of the 4th of July, general election leading into the 5th at Clacton, where I got elected, having tried just once or twice before. I said I would professionalise the party. And I tell you what, we are vetting our local council candidates to a level that no party has ever done before. We are led in the office by a young staff, all in their late 20s, who are so dedicated and so professional that even when they got the call from me on the 23rd of December to say, sorry boys and girls, but I'd like you to work on Christmas Day, they all did without hesitation. That is professionalism, that is dedication, that is what we're doing. And we brought some new great people on board. We have a new treasurer who has promised to raise us astonishing sums of money. Stand up, Nick Handy, wherever you are. And I chose a young entrepreneur in his late 30s who's got tech skills that most of us in this room wouldn't even understand, who's been very successful in business, to come and be the chairman of the party. And let me tell you, Zia has given dedication, hard work, belief, helping me, helping us do what we can do. Zia, as chairman, is an absolute superstar and has a major future in British politics. Where is he? Where is he? He's somewhere. I saw him in the green room. He's somewhere. I also said that I would democratise the party. Well, we've got a new constitution that was approved at the Birmingham conference. And there was much criticism that I own 2/3 of the shares in the company. But I did that when the party was young and small to make sure it didn't get infiltrated and taken over by bad forces. I did it deliberately. But now I know this is now a mature grown-up, and the shares that I owned in Reform UK, I've given away, and you now own those shares as I promised I'd do. You own it. And we will, once May the 1st is out of the way, hold elections to have our first elected, organised board, professional board, that runs this party. I've kept every promise I made in the run-up to that general election and since, and I hope you have faith in me to believe that when I say something, I mean it and I keep my word. And we know why we're here. We know the values that bind us. And the remarkable thing about Reform is we cross every single segment of the British population. We've got older voters, we've got middle-aged voters, we've got young professionals, but increasingly we're seeing younger voters coming towards us. It could be maybe something to do with TikTok. When I'm met by protesters And I go, boring, boring, boring. And the kids love it. And that's the great thing about a party that believes in meritocracy. We are not in the least bit interested how old you are. We couldn't give a damn what religion you are. We couldn't give a damn what your skin tone or colour is. We don't care about any of these things. We don't care about your gender. We don't care about your sexual preference. In fact, we'd rather not know, to be frank with you. We want to live in a country that treats everybody exactly the same, provided they in return respect us, our values, our laws, and our way of life. So let's make this clear. I didn't come out of retirement last year with a few weeks to go before the general election. And by the way, I didn't need to. Life was going pretty well. Good job at GB News, who I think are a great broadcaster. I turned 60. First two grandkids were born. I was going back and forth to America because I've got some friends over there. One of them's quite influential. I didn't come back into this because I needed a career. I don't need a career. I don't need a job. I came back into this because I genuinely believe, and Aaron Banks touched on it earlier. Isn't it great? Aaron Banks, our candidate for West of England Mayor. God. The Guardian will be choking on their bran flakes tomorrow morning. I can't wait. I think the BBC might struggle a bit too. Oh, and Channel 4 News and many others. No, I came back into this, as Aaron touched on, because I genuinely believe that if we don't arrest the level of economic and societal decline that we are rapidly going into, that within a few years, this country won't even resemble anything that we've grown up with, that we love, and we're happy to share with others. But, however tough, however grim, however difficult, however depressing it may look, this party is full of optimism. This party is full of hope. This party is full of people who believe we can turn this around and get our country back on track with the right leadership, with the right politics, and we're determined to do it. Now, in life, it's quite important to be lucky with your opponents. Napoleon once said, "Don't give me good generals, give me lucky generals." Well, right at the minute, I feel like a lucky general. Because we have a Conservative Party. Well, we used to have a Conservative Party who for 14 years gave us the highest tax burden that had been seen since the war, did not, despite the promise in 2019 of giving us the Brexit that we voted for, never actually believed in it, and whilst we left, they didn't give us what we really wanted. A Conservative Party who told us in the 2010 general election they would reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year. Told us in the 2015 general election manifesto they'd reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year. Told us in the 2017, I sound like an auctioneer now, don't I? Told us in the 2017, yeah, mind you, if I'm an auctioneer and it's the Conservative Party, I'm not seeing many bids in the room, I got to tell you. Who told us in 2017 they'd reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year, and told us in 2019 they'd use those Brexit freedoms to reduce numbers coming in and to stop unskilled migration happening on the level that it was. And what do we get? Keep it clean, come on. What do we get? We got the greatest betrayal of a massive democratic majority that we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Net migration in 2023 alone is what net migration, not gross, net migration is 1 million people after all of those promises. And I believe the Conservative Party should never, ever be forgiven for that level of betrayal. But it could be that we're even luckier with our Labour opponents. Do you remember the big promises? Vote for us. Energy bills will be reduced by £300 a year. And yet from next week, energy bills would have increased by £300, not reduced, but increased by £300 since Labour came to power. They told us they were on the side of business. Yet, and this is incredible, this is truly incredible, not one of the 25 men and women that serve in this Labour cabinet, not one of them has ever founded a private company. Not one of them has ever worked in business. And the business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, lied openly by saying he was a solicitor when he never, ever qualified. What hope is there for 5.5 million men and women out there running their own businesses with this mob in charge? What hope is there? They haven't got a clue. And Rachel, well, it was Anderson, of course, that dubbed her Rachel from accounts. But now we learn she wasn't as good as that. She's actually Rachel from complaints. And what was given to us in the Commons this week was an Alice in Wonderland story. Let's be clear. Growth forecasts for this year have been halved without massive government borrowing and without mass migration inflating the population. The way we measure wealth on GDP is false. There is no genuine growth in this country at all. And I asked her a question in the Commons. The only way to measure growth is to measure your GDP per capita. Not to con yourself, because the population's rising by 1 million every year, and GDP per capita has fallen for 6 of the last 8 quarters. This country is getting poorer. Labour have absolutely no clue, no idea how to deal with it. They cannot spread optimism. And optimism, I mean, goodness me, the front bench look like they're attending a family funeral. And then, of course, we have the issue that did perhaps more than anything to bring down the last Conservative government. And that was the flow of dinghies coming across the English Channel. Now, I'd remind you that I was pretty much on my own in 2020, going out into the Channel, making films, making videos, pretty much on my own. The Sunday Times said, what a sad, lonely, desperate figure I cut. Well, they probably had a point, but I was the one warning people what would happen. I was alone, telling people, unless you arrest this and deal with this, it will lead to an invasion of our country. I was condemned for the use of that word, but now, nearly 150,000 young men later, I have been proved right. And there was nothing the Conservatives could do. The Rwanda plan was doomed to failure because of our membership of a certain court in Strasbourg, which I might mention again in this little conversation. Smash the gangs was never ever going to work, and 2,000 young men have come in the last 8 days. That is unacceptable at every single level. None of them should ever be allowed to stay in our country. End of. End of. It's outrageous. And Labour also face some other challenges. You'll notice they're now trying to be a bit more careful. They're talking perhaps about cutting a few benefits. So rather than the benefits bill going from 70 billion a year to 100 billion a year in 3 or 4 years' time, it might only go up to 95 billion. I don't call that cuts. I don't call that dealing with it. But the Greens are not going away. There is a young generation of people who have been frankly indoctrinated at university, who think we're all about to fry to a crisp in the next fortnight, and they will go on voting Green. The Liberal Democrats have consolidated their position in much of the country. But the really big threat to Labour comes from the group that called themselves at the last election the Gaza Independents. When I warned over a year ago, when I said that I believed that sectarian politics would come to England, literally nobody believed me. But it happened in the general election. 4 Gaza independents, in many cases fighting deeply unpleasant campaigns, won seats in Parliament from inner city constituencies. And I guess you can add Jeremy Corbyn to that lot and call them 5. Last night, in Redbridge, in East London, in the constituency of Wes Streeting, the Labour vote in a council by-election fell by over 40%. You might... No, wait for it. Where did it go? It went to a Gaza independent. And I believe in the next Parliament there'll be 25 or 30 people elected, and they'll come from the Burnleys, the Blackburns, parts of Leeds, parts of Keighley. This has all been caused by successive Conservative and Labour governments allowing mass immigration, without integration. It has been irresponsible, it has been wrong. And I've been one of the few. I've been one of the very few people for the last 20 years. I've warned about this. I've been called all the names under the sun. We have, as I said earlier, no difficulty or problem with those from different countries or cultures or religions, provided if they live here, they live by our rules and our way. So look, I came back out of retirement to do this. I'm not mucking about. I've got one very clear, simple goal, and that is that Reform win the next general election and turn this country round. And a Reform government will leave the European Court of Human Rights. We will get rid of the Human Rights Act, upon which British lefty judges depend. We will, to be clear, and by the way, if you read different on X over the last few weeks, sponsored by Indian bots, I suggest you ignore it. I will reiterate, nobody that comes into our country on the back of a lorry or via a boat will ever be given refugee status, will ever be given leave to remain. Nobody. Nobody. It is unfair. It is wrong. It is also deeply unfair to those who have come here legally, and that's worth thinking about. And let me tell you, everyone that comes illegally will be deported, full stop, end of story.
So that was the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, speaking at their local election launch in Birmingham. On this channel, we've covered the Conservative local election launch, and the Labour Party and Liberal Democrats are expected to launch their campaigns in the next couple of weeks, which we will also bring you live. Let's just remind ourselves of what Kemi Badenoch said at the launch of the Conservatives campaign last week. She called for lower taxes and for better services.
They will trust us, because we have delivered lower taxes than any other party. Labour's raising taxes even higher. But at local level, Conservative councils consistently deliver better services at a lower rate. Look at Birmingham, that's raising taxes up by 21%. We don't do that. So people right now will be getting their council tax bills for the year. The Conservative councils are lower. If you vote for something else, you will get something much worse. So we are standing on our record. I'm not here to say that we got everything right or we were perfect. That's far from the truth, because if we were, we would still be in government.
And as you may have heard mentioned there was a candidate announcement for the West of England mayoral election. Here are all the candidates. So Helen Godwin, Labour Party; Ollie Henman, Liberal Democrats; Mary Page, the Green Party; Ian Scott, the Independent; Steve Smith for the Conservatives; and, yep, that new one there, Aaron Banks for Reform UK. Well, just before we whiz ourselves on to the next topic, which I know you all deeply care about here in my live studio audience, about illegal immigration, record numbers coming over the channel. Barry, what do you make of what we heard there from Nigel Farage? He was saying, you know, he's going to try... he's back with us. He's back with us.
Has he finished?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank God for that. Actually, please, could you ensure that you put that out every night? Because the more the British public see that and get bored, the happier I'll be.
I think it's unfair that Barry's selling out audiences across the country. He's saying what the people want to hear.
Well, I'll look at your viewing figures tomorrow night and see what it looks like, Patrick.
Well, there we go. Look, he's obviously not going to get too much agreement from Barry Gardner there. But